problem is? I ain't got no problem, man. Don't tell me what my problem is.
Nothing could have prepared the world for the day when Scrappy's actions would lead to this fall from grace, but fans had watched his turbulent journey on screen, including his ups and downs with his family relationships and career. It all started with a particularly heated argument with Chaos. One of the cast members, renowned for his bold demeanor and propensity to cause trouble, had never been afraid to voice his opinions. Scrappy, who was well known for his fierce temper and devotion to those in his circle, has always been a mainstay of Atlanta's love and hip-hop scene. What started as quickly, the disagreement escalated into a full-fledged fight. The producers and crew that were on the scene were taken aback to learn that this was a man who had gone too far behind the cameras and that it wasn't just another furious dispute. Always known for having a short fuse, Scrappy was at his. Breaking point, the two men exchanged abrasive words as the tension mounted, but Scrappy's threats were what would ultimately end his life. In a fit of rage, he threatened mayhem in a way that was more than just words. His tone was ominous, and the words themselves left little opportunity for interpretation. In the love and hip-hop franchise, there is no tolerance. There were boundaries, and it didn't take long for the authorities to determine that Scrappy's outburst had crossed them. Reality television has always operated under the guise of chaos and drama when it comes to threats and violence, but one of the most well-known characters from the program Scrappy got laid off. Scrappy had been a part of Love and Hip Hop Atlanta from the beginning, so it was a heartbreaking blow for him when Swift made the choice after carefully considering the possible consequences on the show's image as well as the safety of the cast and crew. The beginning and the performance had been important to this career because they gave him a platform to showcase his musical career and intricate relationships with his family. However, now that the news had come to light, all of that was in jeopardy because of a moment of weakness, and fans were devastated, with some being furious at. Scrappy's outbursts and disagreements in the days after his termination served as a reminder of the cost of his anger and his inability to manage it during a passionate moment. This was a reflection of the fine line, while some were disappointed by how quickly the show had acted. Reality stars usually balance entertainment value with personal repercussions. Scrappy remained mute and gave his actions some thought. His public persona had never been impacted by the Fouts' continued appearance on the show. Even though there was animosity between them, the show would go on without him. The anger that had once shielded him now stood in the way of his success. He had been a man of confidence and bravado, but behind the scenes, the reality of what had happened began to set in. He was Scrappy, but for the first time in a long time, the focus was no longer on him. The lesson was challenging but necessary. He was removed from the eye of love and hip-hop.
I probably went too hard or something, took something the wrong way or something like that, you know? So I want to say, I'm sorry to Khaotic. We're getting somewhere. We're not. Because I can give a Because let me tell you something. When a motherfucker go with me, and he feel like I'm not a good person, I feel the same way he is. So we on the same page.
No, but he does not feel that.
He just said it. He said, hey, if you feel like I'm not a good person in your life, then you need to stay like that.
You said me you're a good
and we gonna stand on it.
No.
Let's stand on it.
No.
We gonna stand on it.
No, he said not. Stop. He did not say that.
What I said was, if you feel like I'm a bad person to you, then
This is not about that right now. This is about you. How do you feel about him?
I never said I had a problem with him.
No, this what he do. He say something crazy, and he's like, oh, I ain't got no beef. I ain't got no drug.
Khaotic always trying to play a victim. He'll start, then he want to be like, I don't want no beef, man. If you got an issue, stand on it. If not, sit down and shut the up, bro.
At the end of the day, like I said, bro, it don't even really matter.
Cuz gonna try to goddamn, he want everybody to
oh my God.
No, because we're so grown, we're making a assessment of our own thoughts here.
I be watching Cuz, I be like, oh.
Okay, so wait.
You know what your problem is?
I ain't got no problem. I'll beat your ass.
You had a million times to do it.
Why you on TV, man? You a clown.
You got a problem with me.
You a keep talking that boy.
There were ups and downs in Scrappy's career and family connections, but nothing could have foreseen the day when his own actions would lead to his fall from grace. It all started with an especially heated dispute with a wild cast member who was notorious for. Due to his brazen demeanor and propensity to cause trouble, he and Scrappy got into a battle over a little matter that swiftly escalated into a full-fledged altercation. Words were spoken, insults were flung, and the debate swiftly got out of control. Resilient, who was prone to losing his anger, was at his breaking point. As the tension rose, the two men exchanged harsh words, but Scrappy's threats were what horrified the producers and crew who had witnessed the situation. Another furious dispute, but that man had gone too far. His tone was dangerous, his statements left little room for interpretation, and he threatened chaos in a way that went beyond simple words, finally sealing his doom in a fit of wrath.
Whole time, he the one who called me out my name, disrespecting me, talking gangster. I never talked gangster. I never threatened you. I don't play no victim. I just don't do all that fake gangster talking and all that. You came at me talking gangster. First of all, if I say anything sick or say anything crazy, I'm up.
The Love and Hip Hop brand had a zero-tolerance policy for threats and violence, but reality television had long operated under the guise of chaos and drama. Scrappy's outburst crossed these boundaries, and the authorities swiftly reached a decision. Swift's decision to fire Scrappy, one of the most recognizable characters on the show, was not made immediately, but it was a devastating blow since he had been a part of Love and Hip Hop. After giving considerable thought to the possible consequences, Atlanta made the decision. On the reputation of the show and the security of the actors and crew. Since the beginning, the show had been an essential part of his career, giving him a stage on which to display his musical career and his complicated relationships with his family. However, when the news broke, fans were devastated, with some feeling angry at Scrappy for being angry and causing Scrappy problems. In addition to marking the end of a television program, the firing served as a reminder in the days that followed of the price he paid for his rage and his incapacity to restrain it during a passionate moment. Scrappy persisted even though some were dissatisfied with how. As the F-line reality star continued to come on the show, the tension between him and Scrappy lingered in the background, but the production quickly took action that reflected his regular balancing act between entertainment and personal consequences. Without Scrappy, but for the first time in a long time, the focus was off of him. The lesson was tough but necessary, and the anger that had previously protected him now stood in the way of his success. His public persona had always been one of bravado and self-assurance, but the truth of what had transpired started to set in behind the scenes, as he lost his place in hip-hop and love.